All right. So yeah, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Welcome to the first organizer webinar of 2025. And this webinar will be focused on sponsors and event media. So we're really lucky today to be joined by Jen Coleman, who will take us through some sponsorship insights. Jen's been a friend and colleague of mine for many years. We crossed paths in the sports commercial industry back in Australia when I was doing some work in sports consulting and Jen was working with Optus. And so, yeah, I'm really stoked to have her join. And then what I'll also do today is take you through some exciting new products that we've been working on at Liveheats that we're really, really excited for you guys to test out. So the first one will be sponsorship, the second one will be event media tools, and then we'll dive into a Q&A at the end. So like I mentioned before, throughout the presentations, if you do have any questions, please feel free to submit them via Slido. So you can go to the link in the Google Meet in the chat, or you can use your phone, scan that QR code on the screen, and then you can submit a question, upvote on other people's questions, and we'll spend 10 minutes at the end to answer any questions you have. So with that, I'll pass it over to Jen Coleman for a bit of a presentation on best practices in sponsorship.
Thanks, everyone. Just checking audio is okay. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yep, perfect.
Yep, brilliant. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Always pleased to speak to a new group of people, but I know we're relatively short on time, so I'll jump straight into it. And I thought what I'll just take everyone through today is 5 top tips on attracting and retaining sponsors. And I totally appreciate there's a mix of organizations and rights holders in the room. Some of these tips will be bread and butter to some people, and some, hopefully, there's some really actionable, helpful things you can take away. But just to start, a quick introduction. I'm Jen, nice to meet you all. As Chris mentioned, I've sort of spent a lot of time in big brand corporate sponsorship roles over the years. And then latterly, in the last few years, I've done a lot of consulting for big brands, rights holders, and also private equity space. And most recently have moved into running a sports marketing agency. We're a full service agency. We do everything from sponsorship strategy to consultation to content production, social media management, talent management, everything like that. So this is a culmination of all that experience into 5 very quick tips for you. So number 1, to get straight into it, thanks, Chris. Just to start on sort of that prospecting space, and sometimes putting your proposals together can be super time consuming, really hard, and you don't really know where to start and where to pitch it. And one thing that I found consistently over the years, if you just jump onto the next slide, having been on the receiving end of literally hundreds of proposals, is the norm is to read 8 pages about your event and this amazing opportunity, and potentially 1 or 2 pages at the back talking about the brand and what you can offer, and some design mock-ups. And whilst that's great because I leave with loads of information about your organization, I haven't yet connected the dots around, well, why is this relevant for me and why am I interested? So my tip here is to flip them over. Think of it as going on a first date. No one wants to go on a first date with someone who just talks about themselves the whole time. So the challenge here is to open with just your top 2 or 3 most exciting things about your opportunity, whether that's news headlines, whether that's big stats, whether that's a big lofty ambition, and then go into demonstrating that understanding of your partner. So show that you understand the context, see what's been in the news about them, see if they've had new product launches, leadership changes, reputational crises even, and try and gather some compelling insights that shows, you know what, we've actually really thought about this partner. Now, in the past, that would have been really difficult, but luckily, ChatGPT and other friends can be really helpful in this sense. So actually leverage those tools, you know, well, obviously to caveat with caution, and always double check the facts that it gives you, and make sure that you've got the backup with data. But that now is a half-hour job. So then when you come to putting your potential rights and benefits package together, that's not just a list of things, that's actually a problem-solving solution. So here's what we understand about you, and actually here's all the package that we can offer to solve that challenge for you. So that's number 1 tip. 80% about the proposed partner, 20% about you. A really obvious one, just before I move on, is double check the branding and the brand, because I can't tell you, particularly in sitting in Optus, how many proposals I would receive that had a sneaky little Telstra logo that hadn't been swapped out, and it's an instant no. But that's an obvious one. So that's the first one, is to flip those partnership proposals, focus on the partner. Point number 2 is all around sort of taking a step back from the partnership space for a second, on a more sort of organizational level, and looking at strategically a really interesting way just to drive more engaging conversations, but also unlock new partnership categories and new partnership opportunities. And it's all around purpose. So we jump over, Chris. What do we mean by purpose? It's about, it doesn't need to be super complex. You can go down an absolute rabbit hole on purpose and sustainability and all that side of things. But all I mean here is have a think about what your event, and I'm assuming most people in the room are event organizers, what's the legacy that you want your event to leave? And what do you stand for? What's your goal beyond the initial immediate financial and sporting outcomes that you're delivering? So what that might look like is changing your big ambition from, we want to be the biggest surfing event in New South Wales, to we want to provide a platform to create champions of the waves who also are going to transform the health of the ocean. Or we want to create an event that builds a stronger, more connected community in this town that has lower youth crime rates, or whatever that might be. But something that's a legacy and a long-term ambition. And the reason this is really important is it unlocks an emotional connection with brands. Firstly, it really helps you identify some brands that will align with that, and they might not be brands you've thought of before. But it also unlocks new activities that you can engage brands for, and it helps that sort of emotional buy-in. It also provides a bit of resilience, because if you have this really interesting kind of, whether it's social, environmental, or a community project, excuse me, if you have something else beyond the sport, if, God forbid, the event is terrible and it's a washout and no one turns up, you've actually still got a really compelling story that your sponsors can be really proud of. So I would urge you to think about that. And it doesn't need to be overly complex, but what it does need to be is authentic and credible and sort of buy-in from a business level. If we just flip on to the next one, I'm more than happy to go into that with anyone on a deeper level, because that one can be quite a big project. Leading on from that point, tip number 3 is all around shared ownership. So, we've engaged our partners on a really kind of emotional, integrated level. This tip is about moving away from, I guess, what I would call one-way partnership delivery. You give us 20 grand, we'll give you this list of things, into a true partnership integration where your partners have a role to play in the success of the event, and as close as possible to the core of the event. And that, the reason that's important is so that your partners are more engaged. The more engaged they are, the more likely they are to be talking about their partnership to their wider business. The less likely they are to be critical if anything goes wrong, because they'll feel a sense of ownership as well. And it means, effectively, they're more likely to renew. But how would we go about doing that? My number 1 tip here is, before you actually jump into engaging a partner, getting a contract signed and rushing that through, is have that time and space to do discovery and workshopping and getting to know them, and thinking beyond what are those physical activities we do on ground, where the branding goes, what the activation looks like, and think of a broader kind of 360 opportunity matrix. And that can be a couple of hours in a workshop with them, but it gets people really excited. It allows them to bring in other stakeholders from around their business, who might be interested in the partnership as well, because we all know people get really passionate about partnerships and everyone wants to be involved. But then exploring things like, what are those shared values, that the things you both really care about? can you come up with one big goal that you both share, and that turns into sort of a really clear partnership positioning as to why these two companies have partnered together? Do they have expertise in-house that you don't have, or vice versa, or resource in-house that you really want to learn about? So, you know, that could be something like a secondment opportunity, but it could be also something like tech platforms, or one that we'll come on to later, like research and measurement tools that actually brands have and you might want to use, but actually being able to share some of those resources. The other really interesting one is, can you be a safe space where a brand can conduct testing of new ideas? Because often partnerships is a really great space to do that, because a brand might not want to test something radically new in their one major brand campaign or marketing push for the year. But, you know, for example, they might want to test a, you know, very current topic and completely AI generated video. They might not want to put that out with, you know, all their marketing budget behind, but that might be something that they could test with you. So exploring whether there are any areas that they actually want to innovate. And then finally is around, and we'll come back onto this later, is around agreeing on shared KPIs and shared ownership of those KPIs as well. So again, there's a lot there, but even if there's just one or two bits that you can kind of pull into your partnerships there, it just creates that deeper engagement, which then when it comes to that sort of retention and renewal piece, you've got a much more engaged partnership to work with. And so the last couple of tips actually are around the more partner management and retention strategies. And really there's just two sides to that. One is managing a really good relationship, personal relationship, and the other one is managing a business outcome. So starting with the human side, and this is a quick one, get personal, get to know that person who is managing that partnership and make them your biggest fan and your biggest advocate. If your lead sponsor is not out there singing your praises, then you know you're doing something wrong. And however good sort of the deliverables are on paper, we all know that, you know, we're in a human personal role here, and it's all around the strength of that sort of interpersonal relationship. So how do we actually go about doing that in terms of putting something tangible in place? It's about making sure you're resourcing the relationship as well as you are resourcing the activities that are being done. So, you know, find out about that person. Who are they? What are their family up to? What do they love? And have a point person who's in top of managing that relationship. Normally, you would have probably someone more operational and executional doing the doing, and then a commercial director or a CEO who manages the relationship. But it doesn't always need to be that way around. There might be someone else in the business who has a really great connection with them and can be that relationship person, but they want to feel like they've got someone to come to if they want to say, oh, that this isn't actually quite what I want, or I've got this idea. So, you know, separate resourcing of the doing and the relationship. And the last point, which is an interesting one, is around that individual, whether that's the partnership manager or the CEO of a local business who's sponsoring your event. Everyone has career ambitions and everyone has a bit of an ego. So actually, how can you hero them in their career publicly as well? So really small things like mentioning them in LinkedIn content, giving them opportunities to provide quotes for media events, you know, giving them speaking opportunities at events. Things like that really matter to people, and they take pride in the fact that you've offered them those opportunities. And the last tip actually here is, with that, don't let your partners see anything about you secondhand. And that comes from experience, not necessarily in myself, but sort of a C-suite level in the businesses I've been in. If you're a big partner and you think you're the biggest partner of an event, and suddenly you see in the media that they've signed someone else, that never goes down well. Or if there's sort of going to be a crisis or a big piece of news coming out, just get on the front foot and make sure you're always kind of including your partners in that, even if you don't really feel like it's their prerogative to know. Just do that sort of 2-minute job to make sure that they have had the heads up and they're happy. That's the human side of managing the relationship. And then just finally, final tip is all around the business outcomes, tracking, measurement, and delivery. And as I said earlier, some of you bigger organizations, this will be bread and butter, and you've got it in the can. It's part of your day-to-day. But actually, for smaller rights holders, the tracking and the measurement and proving what you've delivered can be quite a burdensome task. And there's a lot of expectation from partners to demonstrate return on investment of what they've done with the partnership, and sometimes that's so difficult to actually put together. But the one phrase I've heard so many times through my career is, let's get this partnership agreement signed and put it in a drawer and never look at it again. And whilst I agree with that in principle, in terms of, yes, you should always be flexible, you should always be creative, you should always be coming up with new things, you shouldn't be burdened by a contract, but you need to make sure you're staying on top of it. And actually, in terms of what your deliverables are and your rights and benefits are, however many great things you've done, if there's a leadership change, if there's a new CMO, if your sponsor's marketing budget gets cut, you want to be on the front foot and able to demonstrate the value that you've delivered through that contract. So how do we actually make sure we're over delivering? There's a few things in terms of setting up for success. You don't want it to become a big burden at the end of the event or the end of the season to feel like you've got to compile this huge report that's going to take days. So actually setting up in terms of, as I mentioned earlier, sharing some of those KPIs, but when you agree those KPIs, also agree how they're being tracked. Loads of businesses actually have tracking in market, so they can take ownership of that. And, for them, it's actually not a huge expense or cost. They can add it in. But other things, like having a day-to-day tracking of deliverables. There's loads of platforms out there where you can pop in all your sponsorship deliverables and make sure you're ticking off what you've tracked. Just do it in a spreadsheet if you need to do it in a spreadsheet. But as long as you're staying on top of making sure you've delivered everything, add 10% to everything so you can always demonstrate that you've over-delivered. Doesn't cost you anything. It's a no-brainer. And then actively seeking proactive opportunities. So, what Chris is about to come on to with these Liveheats opportunities, an amazing example of that, where this is probably something that's none of your partners are yet aware of. But if something proactive comes up, give it to an existing partner for free. Make sure you track it, test it. It means in year 2, you can package it, put a value on it, and either sell it back to them or sell it on to another partner. So, setting up for success is really important. And then actually in terms of metrics and how you can gather data, as I said, it's not always easy to have, in-depth consumer research about how people feel about this brand now that they're your partner and all this kind of extensive research, but there's lots of stuff out there that you can get for free. So looking at the growth of your own channels and indeed the growth of your sport, like if you run a skateboarding event and actually skateboarding is skyrocketing in terms of participation and interest, then the value proposition of your event has increased in value. So looking more broadly beyond your own kind of property as well is really helpful. Using things like Google search trends, using platforms like GWI, who, yes, you need a subscription to some stuff, but there's actually quite a lot of data in there for free as well. And then putting financial valuations on anything that you've over-delivered. So at the end of the season, you can say to your partners, there's extra tickets and that media exposure, using proxies for media values. We've actually delivered you £30,000 additional value on top of this contract. But again, not needing to do every single one of those things, even just picking out 3 or 4 will stand you in much better stead when it comes to that renewal piece. So that was tip 5, whistle stop tour. I will catch my breath. Please feel free to ask any questions afterwards. Again, hopefully there's just a few things in there that are helpful to some of you. Thank you very much for your time.
Amazing. Thank you, Jen. So yeah, hopefully that was useful to everybody on the call, whether you're a tiny club trying to get the local bakery to sponsor you for the year, or you're a national governing body or a pro tour looking to do your renewal with Samsung. Hopefully there's some good insights in there from Jen's experience being on both sides of the fence, being the sponsor being proposed to or representing some of the top end rights holders that she's worked with in her career. So any questions about sponsorship, how to make the most of it, how to land sponsorship deals for your organization, please submit them through Slido and we'll answer them towards the end of the session. Cool. So this moves us on to the next part of today, which is about sponsorship tools on Liveheats. So over the last few years, we have been talking to organizations, and a common theme that keeps coming up is, oh yeah, everything's going well, but we're really struggling to find sponsors this year. Or yeah, our big sponsor dropped out for this year. So we are noticing that everyone from the smallest clubs to the pro tours are really struggling to find new ways to offer sponsors value, particularly outside of the event day. So the objective that we're really trying to help with is, can we give sponsors more value throughout the entire event lifecycle by maximizing their reach? And we actually think that Liveheats can play a role in this, with you guys as the organizer partners. So when you are at an event that has Liveheats results and scores, you will notice that the parents, friends and family and the athletes are glued to Liveheats all day, checking scores, checking results, checking their next heat, checking the leaderboard, whatever it may be. That reach and engagement is quite valuable, and currently it's untapped real estate. And given it is also a digital property, it does mean that we can track the data, and so it is reportable. So back to one of Jen's tips around reporting, we have the ability to actually give you data back on how many engagements and impressions those pages were receiving on the Liveheats platform. So I'm really excited to introduce you to our new tool, Sponsorship Integrations. This tool allows you to tailor messaging and integrations of your sponsors through your Liveheats pages. So we allow you to have custom text, presented by, sponsored by, supported by, proudly partnership with, whatever that might be. You can have your sponsor's logo, and that can link through to their external website, whether that might be an offer or just their homepage. And better yet, what we've built is a way that you can actually have multiple levels of sponsorship. So you can have an event level sponsor that'll appear across everything related to the event. And then you can have a division level sponsor. So you might like to make your microgroms division sponsored by the local toy shop, for example, and your masters division might be sponsored by the local pub. You can have specific divisions with specific sponsors and then activate those brands through Liveheats. So I'll quickly show you a bit of a live demo of this new tool. I'll show you this on my laptop, but obviously most of the traffic on the Liveheats platform for athletes and spectators comes on mobile, but this will just give you an easy way to see what's going on. So I'll just move this down here. So now I'm on the Liveheats homepage. You'll see, and this is just dummy data, by the way, but you will see now when we have a sponsor. So this is our testing event here. You'll notice a presented by showing up on the Liveheats home module. So the homepage does get tons and tons of traffic all over the world, people landing on Liveheats to find events. So we wanted to provide an entry point to give your sponsors that front and center exposure. And then when it comes to the organizer profile itself, so if I go to the profile of this organization, you will now see in your event calendar that event sponsor is now showcased. So they'll get that additional exposure. And then if you go to the actual event itself, you'll notice that we now have the presenting sponsor showcased here in the key header of the event. Spectators, if they're wanting to check out whatever that offer might be that your sponsors are offering, can open up that link. That event sponsor will appear on the other key pages, like the schedule, for example, and elsewhere on Liveheats. If you would like to then have a division level sponsor, that's also really easy to set up. So if I click into the Opens division, you can see it's now in partnership with the Apres Bar. So allowing you to actually take your divisions through the season and then offer them as a property to sponsors, hopefully it will allow you to actually create new sponsorship value and capture some of that for your organization. So yeah, this is really where the gold is live scoring and results. So we wanted to make sure that the sponsors were integrated in an area where that traffic's flowing through on Liveheats, and over the course of an event, all of the impressions on these pages are going to be delivering value to your sponsors, and then hopefully will result in business outcomes for them, whether it's traffic to their website or purchases of their products, etc. So yeah, this feature we're really excited about. To activate this, and anybody can activate this in your events now, you just go to your event dashboard on Liveheats. you'll go to the event settings and then over to the sponsors area within the event dashboard, and you will now see a way to unlock this on your event. And our team will work with you. We do have a 1 business day turnaround because we're in beta at the moment, so we'll manually work with you to set this up, make sure the logos look nice, etc. But yeah, check that out, and we would be really excited for you guys to try that. So yeah, in terms of the pricing of this feature, we're doing an introductory offer. We're offering this to everybody for $50 US per event, and that unlocks all of the tools that we have. So the event-wide sponsorship, as well as the division-wide or division-specific sponsors, and we can work with you to craft that. In terms of what's coming down the pipeline, we are wanting to actually carve out specific properties in your Liveheats experience that you can offer to your sponsors. So think about, if you're a fan of surfing, you'll always hear the Jeep leaderboard, for example. So can we help you create properties of the different components of your Liveheats experience? So think, you know, the Qantas schedule, the British Airways Club leaderboard. You might even have Jeep as your ranking sponsor. So we're going to allow you to actually create different properties of the different sections of Liveheats and offer those out. We'll have a separate area for special offers and sort of member offers. And then we are also going to be offering a reporting tool for a reporting service for those bigger organizations that actually want to compile an end of year summary for their sponsors. So we can give you all of the data that we're collecting on views, impressions, engagements of those sponsor integrations. Cool. So that's the first product to show you today, is our sponsorship tools. Like I said, that's available, and you can start testing that immediately. The second one that I'm really excited to show you is event media. So everybody on this call, we're on the side of the fence that we're running competitions and tours for our communities all over the world. And we all know that the athletes and supporters in these communities have an insatiable appetite for event media. Beg your pardon. So you go on Instagram, every athlete wants to be sharing their clips, their photos of the event. It's how they deliver value for their sponsors. It's how they get recognition in their own networks. So there is an insatiable appetite. So what we thought about is, can we actually satisfy this need, but also help the organizations maximize the impact of your events? We did some surveys, and the key thing that came up was around investing in event media. So if the organization is going to hire a photographer or a videographer, the key purpose of that investment is the organization wants to amplify the event. They want the images of the athlete, the surfer, the snowboarder, the surf lifesaver, the skateboarder to be plastered all over social media, all over the news. And so that impact is really important. And so we looked around at how could we actually bring media to life. We looked at some other sports. There are certain tools popping up in other sports helping make media creation and distribution easier. But then we thought about our communities, and we do know that we're really lucky to have passionate photographers and videographers, sometimes even volunteer-based, who are always at our events. They're always capturing the action. They're always happy to share it. And so we thought maybe we could actually leverage the existing photographers and videographers at these events and just use what we have in our technology to actually make what they can deliver and bring even better. So we did some more digging, and we sort of understood that based on a clip or a photo, there's some information stored within that video or photo file. So say the timestamp when it was taken, for example. Liveheats also in our database has a view of exactly what was running at what time. So we know what heat was live at any moment in time, and we store that in our database. So really simply what we can do is we can take timestamps of the content, and we can process that through your event schedule. And basically we can link the photos to specific divisions, to specific heats, and then in the next version to specific athletes. So yeah, we're really excited to introduce you to this new tool, Event Media, which is a big step for Liveheats, as we're moving from just a platform of names and numbers essentially to something more dynamic by bringing event media into our ecosystem. So quick demo of this particular product. and this is live on liveheats.com. This is a real event down in Victoria. So you can see actually the sponsor of this Victorian junior title was No Text, No Rex, which is a government initiative around stopping people texting when they're driving. So if I go into their completed event, we processed the event media through this particular event. So I'll go to a different division. And you can see here we have our heats and results as usual, but then within our heats, we actually now have a gallery. So you can see that this was the under 18 girls final, and the photographer was on the beach shooting this final, and the photo is automatically linked to that particular heat automatically without any manual tagging. We just get all the photos, we process them through our systems, and it generates a nice social media shareable version of that photo. So you can see here, if I click through some of these other examples, you know, a really cool way for you to amplify the event. You have the logo of the organization, the name of the event. That content can be exported. So if I'm on a mobile, I can obviously export that and quickly share it to Instagram. So here I have that little social media asset now that's created for that event. What we are planning on doing with this particular feature is making it so you can actually monetize your content. So to access the high res version of this image, you can actually purchase that. So the parent might want the high res version of the photo so they can actually, you know, print it and put it up at home or whatever that might be. So we are going to have that as the commercial model. So you can see here, this is the high res full version. And then we have the exported social media asset that's designed for amplification and getting your events out across the athlete's social media. So yeah, really excited by this. I'm personally pumped on it. You can see here how cool it looks with all these images processing through your events and then being exportable and purchasable by your community. Also quite handy for event media distribution. So imagine your newspapers in your area or local media, you want to give them a way to get photos of the winners and that sort of stuff. They can just go to the event. That they don't have to have their notepad on the beach anymore, taking down who was the surfer or the snowboarder or the skier, whatever it might be. It'll be linked automatically by the Liveheats technology. So that's event media, and you can see it works nicely with our sponsor integration. And then in the future, we do hope that we can actually bring the two together and have sponsors linked to your event media. So yeah, you can try this tool in beta now as well. So it's available for everybody. You can access it within Liveheats. Again, you'll see an item on your event dashboard on the left-hand navigation that says event media. Hop in there. You can actually order this for free. We can activate a gallery of photos on your event. Again, it's in beta, so we will do this with some manual intervention in the first release. So there'll be about a business day to process that through the system, and then it'll be available. So if you get us the photos, you know, a day or the day your event finishes, we can then process that. So there's a form inside your dashboard now to submit the photos and have all that processed through the system. It is available initially to some specific sports. So sports that run on a single schedule, for example, and sports that, yeah, won't have multiple divisions running simultaneously. It will be initially released for those sports that are running on a single schedule with one division at a time. What's coming next in this tool is support for video clips. So similar process, your videographer can just dump the video files, we'll link and process that. We have the paywall coming. So right now the photos would be downloadable for free in the beta version, but you'll be able to charge a fee for those. And the pricing model from Liveheats side is we'll do a revenue share on those purchases with you as the organization. Hopefully this is a good way to raise additional funds for the organization. And then we have automated athlete identification coming through with AI, and then ability to also store and show your non-action content. So I think presentations, ceremonies, lifestyle images, etc. So that's what we have for today. So a big release, really exciting stuff. So hopefully by now you've had a chance to submit a question. If not, please feel free. There's a link in the Google Meet chat on the left. And then what I'll do is I'll open up some of those questions now, and we'll do the last 10 minutes or so doing a bit of a Q&A. For those who raised a hand, if you could submit your question in the Google chat, that would be good. So you'll see in the chat on the right, there's a link to submit your question. Just if you could write it in, just because we have almost 50 people, it might be a bit hard to do audio questions. But yeah, I would love you to submit it. I'll repost this link in the chat just in case you didn't see that. All right. Okay, so over to some questions. So I've got the question pulled up here on my screen. So the first one is, hi Chris, where can I find event media section in Liveheats on my phone to upload the photos? So how it'll work is you'll actually want to go to your event dashboard on Liveheats, and you'll see here a little module for event media. And then this will give you an upload form to upload a folder of your photos. So the first version will be based on a Google Drive folder ingestion. So you'll see here, you'll put in the name of your event, the link of the event, a link to the Google Drive, and then our systems will take the Google Drive folder and process those images. So yeah, it won't be a upload photo from your phone. It will be more, your photographer will compile the photos in a folder. You'll drop that folder link in here, and then we'll process that through our systems within 1 business day. What is the likely cost for photos? So yeah, this is a great question. We have been looking at alternative models out on the internet, and the reference point that we found was anywhere from $4 to $6 US per photo was sort of what we found in other sports. So that was the benchmark that we thought we would begin with. It would be up to the organization how much you would like to charge for your photos. And then the price to use this feature from Liveheats, there wouldn't be an upfront fee. There would just be a revenue share on those price. We haven't yet finalized that, but we'll be working through that detail once we offer the paywall option in the next few weeks. Third question, what was the uptake of participants or image downloads from the Victoria event? Yeah, so this event that I showed you here with the event media, we actually just did this yesterday. So it hasn't yet been released to the public. This is sort of the first public announcement of this particular tool. We ran it through this event with the Surfing Vic team as a demo to see if it would all work as we hoped it would, and it did. It mapped all nicely and is exportable and works. So yeah, we'll be releasing this into the wild. Essentially, this is the meeting to do that. Can we share video with colleagues? I'm assuming you mean with that a video of this recording session, this webinar session. Absolutely, we will share the link after this call. If you meant can we share the video or the photos from the Liveheats event with colleagues, yes. When we process the images, they will be available on the public site, so you can access the public link of your event on your Liveheats dashboard, and you can send that to anyone you want, whether it's your colleagues or fans or athletes. It's the same link they would use to view the scores. The content will just be natively integrated directly into the results. So you can see here where there was photos taken at this event, all of that content comes through directly into the public pages. Assume the job of sharing revenue with photographers, videographers is on the club. Is there standard pricing, or do clubs photographers set the price? Yes, that's correct. So the pricing model that Liveheats will offer is revenue sharing with the organization. we do have a payment facility already in place with many organizations that use Liveheats for registrations and membership to handle payments and that sort of thing. So you can connect your Stripe account to Liveheats for payments. We'll process purchases of your photos through that Stripe integration, and then Liveheats will take a percentage. The organization would take a percentage, and then it would be up to the organization to then distribute that to its photographers based on its own model. It may be, if it's a volunteer, they may be happy to offer that content as fundraising for the club or organization, or they may, have some way to monetize their content. Is there standard pricing, or do clubs, photographers set the price? Yeah, so that is TBD. We haven't yet built that particular feature. We're thinking we can provide a range of what sort of we've seen on other sports and models for commercializing or selling photos and videos, and make some recommendations there. But yeah, we will probably have the ability to have different prices for different organizations, and obviously different prices in different regions with currencies and that sort of thing. Would love to have links or host of things like rules, formats, schedules. So this is feedback we do get often, which is in addition to scores and now event media showcasing things on your public page, like, the rules or judging criteria, or the schedule is actually natively built into Liveheats, so you can use Liveheats for that. But yes, we do have plans to allow you to offer more information within your events, such as the judging criteria, what we're looking for today, an announcement from the director, we're on hold for 2 hours, please come back this time. Those tools and features are definitely on the roadmap and hopefully coming soon. For sponsor presented by, can we put multiple sponsors? Great question. Yes, that feature is actually in the second release. So we've actually been building that in the last 24 hours. So you can see in this particular event, they have one event level sponsor nominated. There is a feature on our roadmap that's actually 75% built to allow you to have multiple of these badges. So you might have 4 sponsors for one event, presented by, supported by, whatever. They will appear as separate boxes here, and then you can have those as multiple event sponsors, basically. So the answer to that is yes, that will be available in the next couple of days. Hi, Chris, do the clubs need to approve the photographers? Yes, they do have to. The idea with this first version is that it is the organization's official sponsor, official photographer. You could have multiple photographers, but yeah, we do want in this first version, it's less of a sort of crowdsource fan submit, photos from your iPhone type thing. It's more of a high quality event media feature. So focusing on, the photographers that you have in your organization that are working with you, they would provide you the Google Drive link, and then you as the organizer would submit that, so we know that you approve of those images. Do the clubs need to approve the photographers? Yes, you would need to approve them. Cool. So it looks like that's all of the questions for today. We're right on 45 minutes, so I might leave the session there. If you have any further questions about this release or the insights that Jen shared, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. community@liveheats.com is the email to reach our team. We're really excited to share these features with you. Hope you enjoy them, and hopefully your community and sponsors get a lot out of them. And like I said, we're here to work with you guys. So let us know your thoughts. If there's more things you want, different tweaks you want to see in these features, please don't hesitate to let us know. And with that, I'll let you go. Thank you very much, all. Thanks so much, Jen.
Thanks, everyone.
And we'll chat soon. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.